anyone who wants to be, an entrepreneur, you have to like really believe in the cause. It's not just something that's like, um, you know, that you kind of care about and just want to do it for the name, like for being an entrepreneur, that like title or anything. Because for me, honestly, Incluvie was kind of like therapy for me. Like when other things in my life were stressful, like Incluvie would like calm me down. Like yeah, I really love it.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to Do What's Within Us podcast. This podcast was founded by me, Jacob Fortin, and the goal of this podcast was to highlight diverse founders and investors who are building businesses in underserved markets with the ultimate vision to create both a local and global impact. I've interviewed over a dozen amazing investors and entrepreneurs building great businesses in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, right here on this podcast. And I'm really excited that you were able to tune in today to hear from an amazing entrepreneur, Cathy Yee, who will be telling us about her amazing company that she called Incluvie. Incluvie, as you will hear from her, is a very transformative company. Ultimately, what she plans to do with Incluvie is to ensure that diverse voices are heard when it comes to movies. Incluvie is considered as a social-driven company that wants to highlight and spotlight people of diverse backgrounds, from Blacks to Asians and the LGBTQ community. This episode will give you an insight into how Cathy Yee thinks about culture and how she thinks about inclusiveness when it comes to all the different groups that I mentioned. One thing that really struck me in this interview, or conversation rather, is that Cathy said, "I want my legacy to be helping the underdogs. I want to enable men and women of color so that they feel more seen and understood, to help and to help the LGBTQ community feel more included in all cultures, and also to help support mental health for everyone." Thank you for being here, and now we'll get right into the interview. So, hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Do What's Within Us. I'm really fortunate and excited to have a conversation today with Cathy Yee. And Cathy is just an amazing person, and she's someone that we'll learn a lot from, just from her background, how she started Incluvie. It's not inclusive. And we're gonna talk more about that. But just a brief background about Cathy. She's all about social change through diversity in film. She's also an inventor and 2-time patent holder, master's in engineering, which is just brilliant. And she really likes creating and fixing things, and more importantly, loves bringing people together. So, Cathy, thank you so much for being here. And if you can just start just by just introducing yourself for the audience to learn a little.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, thanks, Jacob, for bringing me on. Yeah, we've been friends for a few years now. Yeah, we met in Boston. And yeah, I'm from Boston, grew up there. And yeah, as an intro, yeah, my background is in medical devices and pharma, and I studied biomedical engineering, getting my master's at USC, and went to UConn for my bachelor's. Yeah. And so I worked there in pharma for a little bit at Johnson and Johnson. And yeah, now I do Incluvie, which is why I know you have me here on the podcast.
We'll just give a shout out to, they also have a podcast, Incluvie, and just some amazing stuff. And we'll share the link, the website, you can also check that out as well. But, just go into that. And, it sounds like, how was it like growing up in Boston? I don't know, that question wasn't included
No, that's okay. Yeah, I grew up in a little suburb outside of Boston called Randolph. and I went to school in Newton, so I commuted every day with my sisters. And yeah, it was interesting. It was cold, which is why I'm currently in Miami. But yeah, I really enjoyed growing up in Boston. There's a lot of diversity, and I know some people kind of say that Boston is very like separated in terms of diversity. But in the town where I grew up, Randolph, like everyone was kind of, it's very multicultural, which I enjoyed. And yeah, there was a lot of personalities.
That's interesting. I think maybe that ties into how, Incluvie, I mean, that subconsciously kind of gave you that idea very early on. You mentioned that, just growing up, just before this recording, and based on some of the feedback you gave me on your response, like growing up was a lot of studying, a lot of AP classes,
Mhm.
and the favorite part was sleepovers and, hanging out with friends. Can you just how did that just tie into the life now you have now at Incluvie, um as you're building this company?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Like Newton was pretty competitive, a pretty competitive school in Massachusetts. Um, and I took a lot of AP classes, and like studying and sports was like very heavily emphasized. So I think it brought a lot of dedication and like work ethic to my the rest of my studies and my career and life. Um, so yeah, looking back, I obviously wanted to spend more time with friends and relax a bit more. But I think it did help to prepare me, for the real world. And now I do make an effort to, take some time for my life too, because it is important to, see friends and family, that kind of thing.
Sure. I mean, just to add into that, you said as a founder of Incluvie, and as you just mentioned, also you like to have a life outside of that. um and one thing that really struck me was you're really into classical stoicism.
Yeah, stoicism.
And you said, can you just talk a little bit about that, and just give us an idea of how that really has influenced, or how you got into that, and how that is influencing you?
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of reached a low point a couple of years ago. It was a combination of the pandemic, like the socio-political climate and everything, like my own personal life and everything was kind of like very, very tough. And then a good friend of mine, his name is John, he introduced me to classical stoicism. He tried to give me the book The Daily Stoic about 5 years ago. Um, but I didn't really want to read it because in modern day culture, like stoicism kind of like ties in with manhood and like being a man and that kind of thing. I was like, this is too manly for me. I don't really think it's for me. But then he sent me some pages and he's like, just read it. um when I was at rock bottom, and I was like, okay, yeah, I really like it. And The Daily Stoic, I think, is a great book. I would highly recommend it. It's like a page every single day. Like say today is March, like in March 19th that we're recording. It'll give you like a one-page passage, and it's pretty simple. It's basic stuff like how to be a good person and doing the right thing. But it really lays things out, and I think that's super important. And I've actually drafted a proof of concept for a book, because I want to help bring it to women. Yeah, because right now it's not seen as being something that women should look into.
So I mean, in addition to being the founder of Incluvie, you're gonna be a writer soon. So we will. I'm sending an invitation now once the book comes.
Okay, yeah, I'll put you on the list. No, just kidding. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
seriously, it's still pretty early, and so far the plan is to like interview women who display characteristics of stoicism, since I'm learning and doing my best. Um, but I wouldn't say, I'm like the perfect stoic or anything. So I do want to bring other women to the table too.
That's really exciting, and I think it builds on all the other things you have done, and it's going to really help kind of stand the foundation for many other women to really start thinking, in that light, right? So it's incredible. And I think, just starting something like that is as powerful as all the other work you've been doing. So,
Yeah, thank you.
very excited for you. And based on all the, amazing work you've done, I know there are people behind that we don't see as entrepreneurs that have kind of inspired you, they have pushed you, and they have made you believe in yourself a little bit more. Can you just
Mhm.
talk a bit about some of the mentors that you have had in your life that has really helped you get started in this career?
Yeah, there have definitely been some influential people in my life that have made a difference. I don't even know if some of them know it. So I thank you for the opportunity to let me thank them. Um, I would say even before Incluvie, like I had two amazing bosses in my like medical device career and engineering career. So I do really appreciate having like this man Jesus Solis as my boss when I was an intern at Acumentrix. Um, I think actually both of my bosses display the traits of stoicism,
Mm,
but he yeah was a good person and he had a sense of humor and he really liked me and believed in me and the feeling was mutual. And I think that's really important. And then also Sarah Raymond from Johnson and Johnson. I haven't kept in touch with her too much, but she hired me on to be an engineering project manager at Johnson and Johnson. And yeah, I really liked and respected her and her attitude. She gave me a lot of autonomy and she's like, no, I brought you on to do this. Like you can do it. Just, let me know if you have any questions, but yeah, go for it. I believe in you. So yeah, they were some early like mentors who were very influential. Um, and then um, for
mm.
for current mentors, oh, what was that?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Oh, like with Incluvie, there have been some great mentors too. Like I want to thank Mike Bertov. He's actually in Miami, and he's one of the reasons I came out here because he is great at connecting people, and he's also very funny. um, but yeah, he connects me with a lot of people, and he really believes in me and wants me to grow. And I really um, I respect him, of course, but I also think he's very funny. And Chris Boyd and definitely Jen Ng, who's a family friend who's really been supportive too. Um, yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't want you to leave Jen. It sounded like someone that a great family friend of yours as well.
Yeah. Yeah. She's actually I really um I love her and I also really respect her. She's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, which is really hard for women. And it's some people may think it's easier because like, have you ever heard that? Like it's easier for women or people of color to make certain roles because they're like a card in. Like I want to say right now, it's actually much harder because they have to face a lot of of those beliefs and other beliefs that really are tough. So I really respect her and I'm very proud of her. Yeah.
Exactly. I've heard this, and it's really hard to really get to that point. And
Mhm.
shout out to her, shout out to Mike, Chris, all the people that have really played a significant role in your journey. And if please, if you're listening, we appreciate you. We love the fact that you spent incredible amount of time just to kind of build what we're seeing here today. So shout out to all of you guys for just being there. Um,
Thank you.
and
Mhm.
for us now to get into Incluvie, can you just tell us a little bit what Incluvie is about, what it stands for, and kind of what the goal, like the core premise of the company is about?
Mhm. Yeah, so Incluvie has movie reviews and ratings with a focus on diversity, inclusion, equity, and representation. Sometimes these words are overused, so I just want to say, like at the core, it's really about identity and empathy, which everyone can relate to. And we're a social goods startup. So yeah, we really want to bring more representation to movies so that people can see themselves on screen and click and resonate. And then so that people can see other types of people who are different from them, like have the same values and go through the same life changes and like stories of love and loss that everyone else does.
Yeah, most definitely. And I mean, I've been lucky to see some of the work you do. When I mean, while you're still here in Boston, I know you moved back and forth in Miami, but you know, I really see the value of what you're building, and I think there's a lot that can be done on not just in the United States, but it has a global scale as well at some point. I know you. So it's just really exciting and it's very meaningful work. Can I, in addition to this, what you stand for? How did this all get started? What was the driving force behind it? That you felt compelled to say, I have to do this and I have to start this platform.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, and everyone knows listening to, but yeah, it's been pretty tough the last few years for everyone, and recently too, with Ukraine. Uh, but yeah, the global climate has been stressful for everyone, and I felt like there was way too much discrimination and
Yep.
violence in the US. And this is, like 2022, like when I started this, like 2017, 2018, it's like, why is this still happening? Like we have the internet, like we've we have like, articles and textbooks, and we should learn our lessons by now. But I think a big thing that can help is actually movies, because it's very low key, relaxing. It's not work for anyone to just watch, like, say, King Richard about, Serena and Venus Williams' dad. It's not like they're like making this hard work to like fight the barriers. It's like it's very subconscious with movies, and I think that makes a huge difference in terms of changing people's perceptions and bringing people together.
I mean, just to add on to that, right? So, just what you saw as you started, right? You saw this, I mean, because you had to see an opportunity, right? When you started this, right? And I know we had a kind of a script, like a conversation just earlier, as like, how did you see like Incluvie playing that role, like the opportunity that you saw starting, right? And I know you mentioned a little bit about, um, inspire the resources and the, and just the idea of starting a company is really hard. You had that willpower to kind of build something, right? Can you just walk us through that? Um, yeah.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, when I started, I didn't even know what a startup was. I never had any aspirations of building a company or a website. But yeah, I knew I wanted to make a difference. And actually, my work at Johnson and Johnson and setting up service worldwide, like helped me feel that I could make a difference in this world. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of talking to people, reading, hearing feedback, hearing a lot of people say like, like what's the point of this, and that kind of thing. But also a lot of people who are like, yes, we need this, and they help keep me keep my hopes up in the dark times too. But yeah, I know I'm an engineer, so I figured like if no one will help me, I will just code this. Like I would just do this myself. Um, but I did, have some help along the way. I just, wish I knew a few things earlier, like years ago.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and there are many other founders that have this struggle, and I think just being very vulnerable about that and sharing that early on, and experiencing that early on is very common for a lot of founders. And I really like the fact that you believed in yourself and you stuck with it. So keep that going.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, can I add one more thing?
Def-
Yeah, for anyone who wants to be, an entrepreneur, you have to like really believe in the cause. It's not just something that's like, um, you know, that you kind of care about and just want to do it for the name, like for being an entrepreneur, that like title or anything. Because for me, honestly, Incluvie was kind of like therapy for me. Like when other things in my life were stressful, like Incluvie would like calm me down. Like yeah, I really love it.
I mean,
Mhm.
that's how I feel the same way with this podcast, right? I think
Yeah.
talking to people and just getting that sense of, how what drives them to build great companies or do the things they do are just really inspiring.
Yeah. And I can tell you really like care about, me and other founders. So like that shows through really clearly. Um,
I'm
yeah.
happy to. So I know there's some great stuff that's coming up. I know, by the way, I know you know the kind of the people that just help. I mean, just shout out again. I think you mentioned some people that have really helped you in building this company. I know you have mentioned some of them as mentors, but currently, who are the people that are really helping you? Some of the great people at the team in the team that is really helping you, do all the movie, um, doing all the movie reviews and all that. Can you just give a shout out to some of the team members?
Yeah, I would be happy to. So I'm very grateful for Bob on Incluvie. He's been a core part of Incluvie for at least 3 years, maybe four. Um, and yeah, like we have met up in real life in Boston. He's been on the team the longest, and he's a web developer. And he does the front end and prefers the back end, but yeah, he's very reliable and I can count on him to figure it out. And like he's a good person. Like when you talk to him, like you know he's a good person. Um and then yeah, currently right now, like Ranjan is helping with SEO and she's like very passionate about it. And Bianca as a movie critic lead is just fantastic. Yeah, currently on the team also I want to thank Stephen and Jean. And Hazel has been like a friend and on Incluvie for a few years now too. So she's the producer for our Incluvie movie podcast. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Shout out to all of
very
you.
happy.
Hands up. Yeah, this is great. No, you can't build something alone. So, just
Yes,
right. So shout out
it
to
really takes like a team or like a village or like community, definitely.
and just having Bob to just being there for that long to count on. I'm sure that helped, right?
Thanks, Bob. Yep.
And so I mean, what do you have next coming up? Um, for Incluvie, and where do you I mean, some of the things you're just working on now, if you can share with us, and how people can support you um as you plan for next month or the coming few weeks.
Yeah. So I'm very happy and excited. We just received 2 grants from the city of Boston. Um, yeah, it's through their Arts and Culture Center. And yeah, thank you, City of Boston. Really excited for that grant. And it really helps like artists and change makers like do their work and creative endeavors. And with that grant, like help from that grant, we want to put on our Incluvie Film Festival and contest, where we have like local filmmakers and really anyone who wants to make a short film, um, like make a movie. It can be as short as like 2 minutes, um, to like up to I think 25 or 30 minutes. We have to like decide. Uh, and yeah, the focus of this film festival is like women, people of color, so women and men of color, and LGBTQ, like basically any group that's like not represented very much on screen in movies. And yeah, more podcast stuff with Hazel. And yeah, just kind of refining Incluvie and building out our search engine optimization to get more traffic and retain users and all that fun, well, techie fun stuff. Mhm.
No, that's great. And just the fact that you got that grant, it shows there is support, not just from your mentors and your team, but there's a buy-in from communities, which is more than amazing. I'm sure probably get more in Miami and across the country. So I'm excited. We are excited, the audience. And
thanks, Jacob. Thanks, audience. Yeah, no, I'm very happy to see people like Incluvie. Yeah, thanks.
And once, I think once things unfold, we'll appreciate share some updates, because we'll have your links on down below for people to just follow you and see the work you're doing. So we're excited for that as well. As an entrepreneur, right, one of the things we struggle is just managing our time schedules. Sometimes it can get overwhelming. Sometimes we might have lows. Great that you have a very great supportive team, and also mentors that are there to guide you. But on your own personal time, how do you really mitigate the stress that comes with? Life is stressful.
Yes. Yeah, this is true fact that life is stressful. Yeah, for everyone. Yeah, definitely.
You're an entrepreneur, which is you're creating more unknowns, and just creating that kind of reality of uncertainty, but you're trying to optimize the process to be more certain. How do you, as an entrepreneur, doing all this great work, how do you really manage stress?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's a lot of stress. Like Incluvie itself, I like, but some of the things surrounding it are stressful, and just other things too. I really enjoy personally dance and driving. But only when it's a clear freeway, only on the highway when I can go fast. And what?
How fast did you go? Like, what's the?
I'm not like a Fast and Furious driver or anything like F9, but no, I just go at like just something not stuck in traffic. So like the speed limit,
Yes.
or a little bit faster. But yeah, but it's been tough because gas prices are high right now, and so that's fine. I can find a new hobby. And dance, I like K-pop and hip hop. I'm not especially good at it. Like I'm the girl kind of in the back, but I like it. It's de-stressing for me.
You mentioned your stoicism plays a huge role, right? Helping you, manage stress as well.
Yeah, like it's really been great. It's mainly that one book, The Daily Stoic, because it's like March 19th, like half a page, one page. It's very bite-sized, and it just gives you perspective. Nothing like revolutionary, but like it's very grounding and grounded, which is nice.
And that adds to a recommendation that you would tell the audience, right? It's called The Daily Stoic.
Yep, by Ryan Holiday and I think Stephen Hanselman.
And that boils in now into, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, that also has a role to play in the book you're writing, right? Which you're gonna come back.
Yeah, definitely. I was hoping to partner with them, but I know they're very busy and probably get like a lot of messages. But yeah, if I can partner with them, then I would definitely allude to it and reference it, as well as the basic teachings from like thousands of years ago by Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and Epictetus, who have their own books and writings.
That's amazing. That's just incredible, and I think I actually have to check out that book as well. It sounds very
definitely
very grounding. So, at this point, what has been something that that has really stuck with you, that really guides you? And it was just so funny that, when I was reading some of the feedback you gave me on some of the questions we had before this, you said this advice made you to cry. Wow. I've not heard that before. Can you just
Hmm.
share what this quote, the best advice you've ever received? Can you just share with us, because I read it like several times and it was just, it's not just only, it gives like it's feedback to for life in general, right? It's very
Hmm.
deep. And
Hmm.
can you just share with us this quote
Yeah.
about?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a quote by Roosevelt, and I heard it from Brene Brown, who's a very influential speaker on TED Talks, and has her own books. But yeah, I heard her say it, and it really struck me, and I had to look it up and, like, internalize it. Um, and I can say it now, and I'll try not to tear up or cry, but like, no guarantees. I can be emotional. I changed it a little bit, but yeah.
I mean, you don't have to.
Um,
I'm crying.
it's okay. It's a good release. Do you want me to say it, or bookmark it for the audience?
I mean, you can say it. I can say it. It's all fine, but it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, I can say it. Yeah.
Go for it.
Um, it is not the critic who counts, not the lady who points out how the strong woman stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if she fails, at least fails while daring greatly.
It's amazing.
Thank you. I'm tearing up a tiny bit, which I'm laughing.
That's
But
that's, that's amazing. And, and and this is something that you want to tell young girls that trying to start their own, just
Mhm,
their own journey as entrepreneurs, but also just perhaps become who they want to be, right?
mhm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, you know, believe in yourself, surround yourself with people who love and support you. Yeah, that quote definitely, like, it takes, I don't want to ruin the quote by deciphering it, but yeah, basically that quote, and to balance your passion also, with other areas in your life, like mental health and exercise and, social life, because as passionate as you are, you really need other components of your life to balance everything out.
100% agree on that. And so thanks so much for reading that. I know it's very personal to you, and just for sharing that is with the audience. I really appreciate. So thank you so much for
Yeah.
being read that.
I did tear up, but no, I'm happy to. I hope it affects other entrepreneurs, and yeah, just anyone, people. Mhm.
For sure. I mean, so as we round up, all right, and I try to ask this question because I think sometimes we need a north star to kind of guide us um, through the highs and lows, and as we continue to grow as people, but also as an entrepreneur, right? We look at 3 year periods or 5 year periods or 10 years period, but all in all, right, in a space of time, it's not that much, right? And hopefully we live long enough to see the work of what we are building. But at the end of the day, right, there's some legacy that has to be left behind for people to appreciate. And I mean, for people to kind of see what we're trying to build that will really have meaningful impact in people's lives. Um, and I think what you're building is not only it has a very the shell life is it's almost infinite, because these are human beings, groups of people that have not been included in the social fabric, and you're trying to create space for them to really be heard, seen, and valued equally as for the other races. So, um, you know, maybe I'm actually trying to answer the question.
No, no, that was very philosophical, and it totally resonates. And I like how you put it too, like the way you phrased it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, and I know I want you to be in your hopefully in your own words. Like, how do you see Incluvie and kind of playing that role in 100 years, in 200 years,
Hmm.
you know, in our community, and just having Blacks and Asians and LGBTQ, communities to really feel involved and included in society.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I do want Incluvie to last. Luckily, it's online, and even if it can help, like I was telling my mentor this earlier on, like even if it helps one person feel better and more included, I feel like I would have made a difference. Like if it can, yeah, like make someone else feel more seen and heard. And he's like, no, like not just one person. Like we're trying to scale this and reach like millions of people. And I'm like, yes, yes, I know. And now we are getting like millions of impressions on Google, and trying to build our SEO. So happy to see that reach. But at the core, I think like I do want to make a difference in helping the underdogs. Like I want to enable men and women of color, to feel more seen and understood, to help the LGBTQ people and community feel more included, in all cultures, you know, and to help support mental health for everyone of all identities. Um, I also do want to put in there that like allies are super important and crucial. So Incluvie is not really like an us versus them, or like a me versus you type of thing. It's to help like who who is like the kid in the class who doesn't um, get seen or heard, like who doesn't speak up that much. Like how can we bring them to the forefront to have like an equal representation, type of thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing everything you did, everything you've been doing, how you really came to this concept and how you're building this platform for the work you do. And it's really challenging to build something. It's much more challenging to change people's minds. Um, and it's even harder to make it sustainable. So I appreciate your work. And as a dear friend, well, we are excited. I'm excited, just how to see how this grows and evolves and changes the way we think about just movies in general, but how we think about life and how we interact with people. So thank you so much for your time here. And I'm sure our audience will really love. I really appreciated your time with us. And
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you, Jacob, and for having me on, and also for doing your podcast. Honestly, like I can tell you care a lot about, um, helping people make a difference, and yeah, I'm very, um, yeah, like proud of you too for your work. So, yeah, thank you.
it's all because of someone like you that I'm here. So thank you. Thanks for doing your good work. So to all our listeners, it's Cathy Yee again, founder of Incluvie, and love to get your feedback, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to Do What's Within Us podcast. This podcast was founded by me, Jacob Fortin, and the goal of this podcast was to highlight diverse founders and investors who are building businesses in underserved markets with the ultimate vision to create both a local and global impact. I've interviewed over a dozen amazing investors and entrepreneurs building great businesses in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, right here on this podcast. And I'm really excited that you were able to tune in today to hear from an amazing entrepreneur, Cathy Yee, who will be telling us about her amazing company that she called Incluvie. Incluvie, as you will hear from her, is a very transformative company. Ultimately, what she plans to do with Incluvie is to ensure that diverse voices are heard when it comes to movies. Incluvie is considered as a social-driven company that wants to highlight and spotlight people of diverse backgrounds, from Blacks to Asians, and the LGBTQ community. This episode will give you an insight into how Cathy Yee thinks about culture and how she thinks about inclusiveness when it comes to all the different groups that I mentioned. One thing that really struck me in this interview, conversation rather, is that Cathy said, I want my legacy to be helping the underdogs. I want to enable men and women of color so that they feel more seen and understood, to help and to help the LGBTQ community feel more included in all cultures, and also to help support mental health for everyone. Thank you for being here, and now we'll get right into the interview. Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to Do What's Within Us podcast. This podcast was founded by me, Jacob Fortin, and the goal of this podcast was to highlight diverse founders and investors who are building businesses in underserved markets with the ultimate vision to create both a local and global impact. I've interviewed over a dozen amazing investors and entrepreneurs building great businesses in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, right here on this podcast. And I'm really excited that you were able to tune in today to hear from an amazing entrepreneur, Cathy Yee, who will be telling us about her amazing company that she called Incluvie. Incluvie, as you will hear from her, is a very transformative company. Ultimately, what she plans to do with Incluvie is to ensure that diverse voices are heard when it comes to movies. Incluvie is considered as a social-driven company that wants to highlight and spotlight people of diverse backgrounds, from Blacks to Asians and the LGBTQ community. This episode will give you an insight into how Cathy Yee thinks about culture and how she thinks about inclusiveness when it comes to all the different groups that I mentioned. One thing that really struck me in this interview, conversation rather, is that Cathy said, I want my legacy to be helping the underdogs. I want to enable men and women of color so that they feel more seen and understood, to help the LGBTQ community feel more included in all cultures, and also to help support mental health for everyone. Thank you for being here, and now we'll get right into the interview.